And now we are live, Pasha.
Hello. Hi.
No, thanks for coming. Thanks for
Thanks for having me.
being my guest tonight. It's a pleasure and also a pleasure to talk with you again and see your face again. I think last time we've seen each other 2018, 2019.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you said 2018, but I'm still pretty sure that
I think it's 2018 November because that's when I think I walked out on our project. Remember?
yes, yes, I remember that
Yeah.
we had the redundance there, and then you left. I've been in London with a friend of mine. Then we met. We went out to a hangout, and yeah, I think that was the last time.
Pretty much.
And
Yeah.
then you got married,
Yeah.
and you have done life. Have done my life here too. So yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So Pasha, thanks for coming, and
No problem.
very very pleasure to talk to you again. In fact, the reason I'm doing these things, and
Mm.
it's good to catch up with you also, is because I have this group here in Portugal. In Facebook called Tei Bratuga, which is just closer to my name here.
Hmm.
And this is a group in Facebook that has been created 5 years ago and has over 12,000 people on it right now,
Wow.
which is about 7,000 active members. So it means at least one time they've entered the group
Yeah.
on the last 30 days, so and
Hmm.
it's good because it's an IT group, really focusing in professionals from IT world.
Hmm.
And the series I am making now, it's really to bring together a set of experiences across, not only across Portugal, but also across Europe, or depending on if I have other friends that want to do this from even abroad, um, away from Europe. They are also welcome to do that, and then we can
Cool.
start doing some comparisons. Like
Hmm.
so, why to live in UK or Portugal? So
Yeah.
that's the case. Like you live in UK, I live in Portugal right now. I am an immigrant here, so maybe someone coming from Brazil, for example, to Europe, sometimes he can be catched by the kind of question like, okay, you speak English, so why consider Portugal if you can go to UK?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Yeah.
so that's the case. Like it's not only language, it's not maybe only salary too as well.
Hmm.
So that's the goal here. Like I discuss a little bit more
Cool.
about like a work, a little bit more about like a normal life, hanging out,
Yeah.
house, food, these things. And
Yeah.
then like later on, people that watch this can also remember your name, my face, your face. Like
Yeah.
you now is also like me with the bear and stuff, but before was not. And that's it. So uh, tell me a little bit more about you and what you're doing right now.
So a little bit of background of mine. I I was born in India, and then I studied there, and I finished, I would say, about 15 years
Hmm.
of my life,
Hmm.
and about 11 years of education. And then, yeah, I just moved here because my dad had moved here in 2005, and then I moved here with my mom in 2007.
Hmm.
And we had not moved on work visas or anything. He had a special type of visa called an HSMP visa, which
Okay.
stands for a highly skilled migrant program.
Hmm.
So he came in as an engineer,
Okay.
and then he had actually taught for 22 years mechanical engineering in India.
Cool.
And so he came here, and then he was pursuing a career in teaching. And so I started studying here, my GCSEs basically, and then did my A levels here. And
Hmm.
then I went to university, studied computer science. Um, Now that's when things go a bit. out of plan where towards the end of my second year, I in the summer vacation, I started doing a lot of projects on my own. I did a lot of learning of programming languages and web development, things like that, just out of curiosity. So I was doing a lot of
Mm-hmm.
projects there. Um, so I started to put that on my CV just because I didn't have anything else. So
Sure, sure.
I just started putting that out there, and then I just had uploaded my CV to some random places. And then towards the end of my second year, I received calls from Oracle saying that, we're interested in, having an interview or something. And so I just went for the interview, and it wasn't technical or anything. They just asked me more from a passion perspective, not
Okay.
from a technical perspective. And then they, you know, offered roles and stuff, and I negotiated because I obviously wasn't planning on leaving my education halfway.
Mhm.
Um, but it ended up happening. They offered me something which I wouldn't get for like 3, 4 years after leaving with graduation. So I went in, then I just worked for Oracle, went into a specific niche, CPQ, which
Mhm.
is configure, pricing, and quotation. It's a cloud application which is used for making selling things easier.
Okay. Okay.
So we would basically work on different clients as Oracle people. And after that, I moved to other companies and did the same kind of job, but at a higher and higher levels.
Sure.
Had more responsibility, and then kind of just grew from there. And now I'm at a senior level doing a similar kind of thing, working still with the same product, but also dealing with, architecture side and things like that.
But like so you started on Oracle, and
Yeah,
Oracle, in terms of Oracle Cloud, Oracle products, we can also say that they are not only a product company but also a consultants company. Like,
absolutely. Yeah,
and you have worked in terms of a consultants with them.
correct.
Right now, are you in a kind of a final client, right? So, or
Yes, I'm in an in-house position right now. Before this, every place I worked, it was a consultancy position.
uh and like, for example, after we worked together in
Mhm.
2017 and
Yeah.
2018, and I also continue in terms of the consultants market, and just like this year I moved also away from the consultants world,
Okay.
and now I'm working for Mercedes Benz, like
Okay.
as a solution architect too. So very similar here, that we both moved away from the consultants to the kind
Yeah.
of, not like, okay, it's final customer, but we know that we have our internal customers,
Of
like we
course.
develop for them, we need to go live for them. It's just the kind of relationship that you have with the companies, right? So
Yeah. Exactly.
uh, do you, like, when you compare right now, like, what you do for the final customer, or
Hmm.
before working in a kind of a consultancy,
Yeah.
what, like, do you do you have do you prefer to work like nowadays as you do for a final customer, for example, or like in a consultants was great because you could, like, be involved in different markets or something? Like, can you just talk about bit that?
Yeah. So I think one key thing to understand here is that there's many different criteria that can make someone make a move in career. Sometimes people change their jobs because of salary. Sometimes it's because of, the job they're doing. They want to change
Mhm.
field or work location. There's all kinds of stuff. But for me, moving in house was, I think the primary thing was I was done traveling. I
Mhm.
wanted to stop traveling too much. I was
Mhm.
okay with traveling. I just didn't want to do it all the time,
Yeah.
because when I started working as a consultant, I used to live in a room with my parents, and
Mhm.
it was easy for me to just leave the house and stay in a hotel for a week, work from
Exactly.
there, and then go back home for the weekend. But in 2017, I bought my own flat. And at that point, I had things to do at the flat, and I wanted to actually do things at home, and I had reasons to sort of, set up things in the house and, progress the flat itself. And I just couldn't do that
Yeah.
on Saturday, Sunday. And
Yeah.
so I had a reason to basically, that was in this case my reason to
Hmm.
look at sort of in-house things, sort of trying to go away from consulting. Consulting is not always travel, but I could have easily gone to a consulting role which doesn't have a lot of travel. That's
Hmm.
totally possible. But the niche I was in, which is Oracle CPQ Cloud, um, like you could count the number of Oracle CPQ Cloud people in the UK on your fingers. Um, Everybody knows each other, and when you look for a new one, you just find a friend and tell them to join in. Basically, you don't come across a brand new human unless you look in other countries. Basically, so essentially that meant that customers usually wanted that specialist or expert to be at their site and work with them, because you need to have a bigger team to allow that remote working easily. So my reason was the travel part. And working as a consultant, I think there's a few pros and cons, as with anything. Pros being, I think you are constantly in a dynamic environment. You have a bit of pressure, and at the same time, you get to work with experts of other fields all the time, and your team keeps changing all the time. And you really get to get your hands dirty with new integrations, new types of systems that everybody uses. Um, it doesn't get boring easily, basically. And from an in-house perspective, it's sort of once you put your time to understand what they have, it sort of becomes a routine. And then you know then it can get boring if you're not doing new projects or new things or new features. So it can kind of become repetitive. So I built systems for Spain, for example, but now I'm going to do it for Italy, and it's going to be the same thing again, basically.
Hmm. Hmm.
um, so I worked on the UK and Netherlands, and then that was absolutely new, a lot of learning to do. And then I worked on Germany and Poland, and it was basically the same. So
Hmm.
um, if you can handle that and just continue doing that, that's fine. Or if you can proactively come up with ways to make your own work interesting, and if you're in an environment where you're lucky enough to be allowed to innovate and come up with new things, then great, you can keep yourself busy with new things all the time. Because no matter how complex something is, you can get used to it once you do it
Correct.
enough times, and then it will become boring. So yeah.
Correct. Yeah, this is something I also think that if we always have time and availability to invest uh, a certain amount of time into the consultants world, it's good because then you can not test but like be engaged with like a different people, as you said, different business markets, or
Yeah.
even
Industries. Yeah.
industries. And this really requires a lot of travel too as well, like depend, of course, sometimes you can be allocated to a local project, but if you work with Oracle projects or SAP, for example,
Yeah.
or these other cloud providers, probably you will need to travel.
Yeah.
And these, okay, like as you said, like in the beginning was good because like you were just living with your parents, was fine. You could just like go out too as well. But when you have your own house and you need to do stuff locally, it start to be challenging. You know, like
Yeah.
my wife and I, we we worked in like this kind of a shift, maybe 15 years, and during that time like or she was traveling or I was traveling,
Mm.
and like she was traveling 2 years in a row and then I was traveling 3 years in a row, always like that. You know, it's crazy, especially when you need to grow up kids. So but it's
Yeah.
it's life, right? So sometimes we need to do that. It's good like to get experience too as well. Depending on the consultants that you work, you also receive some allowance, also like a
Yeah.
extra allowance to be because you are away from home.
Yeah.
But that's another story. We can probably talk. It's
Yeah.
just a talk, have a single talk about that, and it's a never-ending story.
Yeah.
That's great. And so now you work for your company. You have your internal customers, like rolling out different locations. You don't need to travel anymore. Just living at home.
Yeah,
Are you working from home right now? Right.
correct. I
So
work from
okay.
home every day, 100%. Yeah.
And like even before the pandemic, your role never needed to really go to the office, right? So
So I think in May or March or something, May, June. Yeah, I think around May time, I was working at a company where basically when I left the company I was working with you in, I
mhm.
went to a different one. I worked there for 6 months and I didn't quite like it. And then, sorry. Yeah, so I didn't quite like it there. And then I moved to my latest company after 6 months of probation. I left it. And
Mhm.
then that's when I started working from home 100%. And like I said, just once every 5 weeks or so, we would meet up in the office just for namesake. Um, yeah, so it's a common question during the pandemic. Oh, did you start working from home? How is it working from home? And I'm like, makes no difference to me. Never felt a difference to myself in terms of work. So none of my colleagues changed anything. Because my team always worked from home, so we never really had a difference in that sense. So yeah.
and okay, like in terms of the job you do, and talking in terms of a general wide IT world, like
Hmm.
in London or maybe in UK, uh, are the companies, the IT companies, open for working from home nowadays, or like how do you see the market? Like your friends there, how do they work now? Like a fully at home, or maybe hybrid, something.
Yeah, so I think a lot of my friends who were working from the office just
Hmm.
started working from home after a few weeks of the pandemic starting. So some companies had some issues with security and equipment. So it took some companies a few weeks to actually be able to allow people to work from home. Um, in other sectors, there are many situations where some weren't even able to do work from home ever.
Hmm.
Um, but in IT, I think it was much easier, of course, because you just need internet and a computer for most
Of course.
things. Um, of course, there's security issues, and there were lots of incidents as well because of that, security
Hmm.
wise, and just health wise as well. So there was lots of different changes that happened, but I think overall I would say IT companies are very much more open to working from home now, um, mostly because they were forced to make it happen,
Sure.
and a lot of infrastructures were created for general use, and so more companies are capable of becoming fully remote now. Um, and for some companies, it also was a profitable thing from a location renting
Of
perspective.
course.
Many companies actually completely got rid of their office buildings and just decided to just completely go remote from then on, and they don't care whether pandemic's over or not. They plan to stay remote because it
Hmm.
worked out better for them and cheaper. So yeah.
Yeah, here in Portugal, I think it's the same. In fact, before the pandemic, the Portuguese companies, at least in IT, they were a lot of they were very they didn't like to work from home,
Yeah.
so it's like always that thing. Okay, we have the office, come to the office, work together, blah
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. Then later on they need to adapt themselves. Some of the maybe the some startups or someone like that were working in those co-shared spaces, they
Yeah.
had that, but like normal big companies, they were totally office one,
Yeah.
and then after pandemic they adapt themselves, and nowadays I think that, like, it's very similar to UK now. You see, like,
Yeah.
you can work from home. In fact, you can work from anywhere in Portugal, like, so you really don't need more. If you work for a Lisbon uh, company, you
Hmm.
don't need to live in Lisbon right now.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
can you can you can live whatever the country is, especially, like, for example, in the islands too as well. The
As
only
long as the
requirement,
tax is the same, I guess.
correct, that's the
Yeah.
case. Like,
Yeah.
that's something probably there also happens the same.
Correct. Yeah.
Like, if you live inside the country, no matter if it's 50 kilometers far or 500 kilometers far, fair enough.
Correct.
But but of course, if you need to go to the office, then you need to go by yourself.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, like, it's not mandatory to go, or, like, maybe for a meeting or two,
Yeah.
but that's it. So I
Hmm.
think it's very, very easy. And also, talking about this, like, when we think about mobility
Yeah.
in London area,
Yeah.
or maybe even going abroad London, how easy is to move, or not just in terms of the trains system, but also in terms of the cost, so how expensive is per month if you need to, like, a commute on daily basis?
Yeah. Um, so it kind of depends. I'm just going to take the typical example of working like Monday to Friday, which is the most typical, used to be at least. And so if you so London is kind of split into zones.
Hmm.
So there's like the inner circle, the smallest circle in the center of London will be zone 1. Then a ring around it would be zone 2, and a bigger ring it would be zone 3. So the higher the zone number, the further away from the central commercial part of London you will be. So that's how the city is set up. That's how most cities are set up.
Hmm.
So if you live, for example, I have always lived in sort of zone 4 and 3 and 2. So right now I'm in zone 3. And if I had to travel to central London, which is the most typical place for most jobs, um, I would essentially need to get like a monthly pass or something, for example. And it will be cheaper to get that rather than to pay daily.
Okay.
So if you do that for a Monday to Friday, morning travel and then evening, afternoon travel back, it'll probably cost about 167, £170 per month.
Okay, per month, 170
Y-
pounds per month.
Yeah. So that would probably come down to about maybe €200 or something like that. But of course,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter how much it is in euros because you're going to get a salary in
Exactly,
GBP. So
exactly.
it doesn't matter what the conversion rate is. What matters is whether that is like sustainable. So
Hmm.
um, salaries in London, specifically in London, will typically be about 20% or so higher than salaries for the same exact job and level outside London.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So, travel wise, you have buses and trains here. You can go from anywhere in London to anywhere else in London pretty much
Hmm.
without needing a car.
Hmm.
Maximum walking, I would expect maybe about 15 minutes or something if it's
Okay.
really deep. But
Hmm.
commercial things are never that deep.
Yeah,
It's only
yeah.
residences which are, you have to walk for. So
And
offices will never be that difficult to reach. So yeah.
and like for example, from the region where you live right now, which is where we had the Olympics in
Correct.
2012.
Stratford.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, Stratford, and to travel to central area, like a kind of a Westminster area there.
Yeah.
Uh, how long do you take for that?
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's from door to door. So
Dort.
um, my wife travels to an office in Westminster,
Hmm.
and it takes her about 40 minutes from leaving the door to reaching the office door. And that's because she has to go from Stratford to Westminster, and then
Hmm.
from Westminster, she has to take another train to go to St. James Park and then walk for about 5 minutes from there. So, including all of that, it's about 40 minutes. So, yeah.
Okay. And here, we have two very two main areas in Portugal. You know, like you have the Oporto area and you have like a Lisbon
Yeah,
area.
on each
Uh,
side of the river, correct?
Yeah, like I know. In fact, like you have the Douro River at the north, which
Okay.
has like a Porto city, and there you have the Tagus River with Lisbon, you know, and
Mhm.
then
Okay,
in
okay.
Lisbon, and so it's like a two cities separated by like a 300 kilometers, but they are the two main
Okay.
cities. Like we can say, for example, like Manchester and London, for example,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
and these two regions, we have here a kind of a shared pass that you can use inside the region,
Right. Okay.
and you pay for it 40 euros per person. You know, like so.
Okay.
With that 40 euros, then you can use any way, like a
Okay.
boat,
Any public transport? Yeah.
anything. You know, just 40 euros per month, which is fair right
Yeah.
now.
It's very nice. Yeah.
And but of course, if you have the pass here in Lisbon, you cannot use in the north and vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. You know, like
Okay.
you need to have them. So, but this started to happen in 2019, I think, or 2018. Before that, to do a travel, kind of like a 30 minutes from outside Lisbon, if you need to mix train and metro, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and the tube, you would pay around 60 euros per person. And I was considering back in 2019, I did visit no 2018 I did visit a city which is 50 kilometers far from Lisbon,
Okay.
and the train ticket plus the tube in Lisbon was 150 euros per person per month, you know.
Okay.
So
Per
like
month.
a
Okay. Yeah.
totally expensive for the life that we have here, like the normal
Yeah.
wage that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So we really gave up buying there. We just prefer to move to a home closer to Lisbon, because then when we moved here, in fact, like they started with this monthly pass for 40 euros, which was okay, you know.
Okay.
And if you have a family, and you if you have like a two or more kids, no matter how many people, you just pay 80 euros per month. So can be for three, four, five people, you know, like a which is good for like
That's crazy good. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, because then you can really save in terms of oil or like a gas and
Yeah. Yeah.
car
Yeah.
stuff, and so that's good, you know. And like okay, so let's think about 170 pounds per month to move between three huge areas
Yeah. London. Yeah.
in London. And what about renting in terms of like this area?
Mm-hmm.
Before talking about like a values wise, but how to let happens there? Like, do you pay on a bi-weekly or per month, or what?
Um.
If I am moving to Lisbon, to London, what do I need to arrive there and get a flat?
Of course, I would recommend talking with people here before you arrive here.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
it'd be a good idea to plan the date of arrival and everything. So you would need to, find a way from the airport. Typically, it'll be City Airport, for example, for Lisbon. So you would, come to City Airport, which is pretty much in, slightly east of London,
Hmm.
and then you just get a, train or whatever straight from there to wherever you're going, and just move in. I would expect maybe if you get like a shared room or something like that, you know, it completely depends on the area, of course. If you are closer to the train stations, it'll be a bit more. For a single room, I would expect maybe between 400 to 600 pounds per month.
Per month,
Um,
okay.
for rooms which are very close to any kind of station.
Hmm.
If it's in a very highly residential area where you have to walk for maybe 10 minutes to get a bus and then, go to a station and then travel from there, then obviously the rents will be a bit cheaper, maybe, in the 300 to 500 range, 300 to 400, something like that. So that's what I would expect. Yeah.
And like, okay, so do I need maybe to do a kind of a initial deposit?
Yes, I would think the typical deposit that I have seen is like the first 2 months as a
Mm-hmm.
deposit,
Mm-hmm.
and then you would pay, after living there for a month, you would pay monthly, and then, when you're leaving, you should get the extra month back,
Ah,
basically.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So I haven't come across, you know, in some countries, landlords just make up stuff like, oh, it's for painting, oh, it's for cleaning, and just
Mm-hmm.
take some money out. But I have not seen that here unless it's actually necessary.
Necessary. Okay.
If you do some damage, or if something's actually needed to be done to fix something which was your fault, then I would expect the landlords to take some out. So yeah.
And like 600 for which size? One bedroom, two bedrooms, like,
No,
or
I would say
just a
one big bedroom with, a wardrobe and a table, desk, or whatever, with a chair, power, Wi-Fi, bills included, I would say. So, yeah.
bills included,
Yeah.
included. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because that was we probably are going there, Marcio, because Marcio just paused here. Like, in terms of net salary, can you estimate the percentage that costs an average senior developer to pay the rent and basic expenses? Marcio, we're getting there. Right, we're getting, maybe like we have already like the renting here, and maybe the transport too, like to commute. So let's speak about the food and these things later. But this is kind of interesting, Pasha. So in terms
Yeah.
of energy, net, internet, and water services there, so for a one bedroom there, like with heating, like all everything electric there.
And I'm talking shared room, meaning you're in a room alone, and that
Okay,
room is inside a flat or a house where there's other rooms where other people live.
but
Usually
this
the
like a
owner is there.
400 or like a 600.
That 400 to 600 depends on the location.
Okay,
So, anything from 300 to 600, depending on location. And, these numbers, I would say, are not for a flat on your own. It will definitely be a room which you can live in with
with the bills
sometimes
included.
if the bathroom is inside your room, great.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it'll be a shared bathroom with the owner of the flat or something like that. And, the bills included. So, yeah.
And in okay, and if I had my own flat,
Yeah.
I'm renting my own flat, one bedroom,
Yeah.
so I could really expect more than 600 in this case, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would say 600 would probably be magically the minimum. I would say you should expect in London zone 1 to 3. I
Hmm.
would think something on the lines of 800 or something on the cheap side.
Okay,
7 to 800, I would guess, would be the cheap ones. So yeah,
no furniture or with
I would say
furniture.
furniture will be there.
Oh yeah,
Furniture should be there. Yeah. Yeah.
not the fancy one, but like something that you can really just.
Yeah, it'll be basic. I would expect that to be like on the cheaper ones, it'll usually be like a first floor of a house or something like
Hmm.
that. So yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Eh, and for these are just like a kind of questions I'm putting to you, because I was used to work in UK, but I never needed to live in UK,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes people ask me, okay, like how much do I need? Or like Marcio, for example, just said here, you know, these are common questions,
Yeah.
Here,
Yeah.
for example, in Portugal, uh, in Lisbon area, you can expect, if you live in a shared room, in a shared
Flat. Yeah.
apartment
Yeah.
with maybe like a two bedrooms, three bedrooms, you will pay for your private bedroom, in this case, probably between 300 and 400 euros with bills included,
Okay.
so with everything. If you then plan to move to a flat, one bedroom, Lisbon area, you can really expect to, nowadays, I would say 600, 700, But then if you travel like to the other side of Tagus River, for example, then you need to cross through boat or maybe through by using the train. Uh, you can spend like the same 600 for a two or even three bedrooms flat,
Okay.
much bigger and much better too as well. So
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, to live in this Bonn region, it's not cheap. Like
Hmm.
there, and if you work by yourself, only you. If you have a family and just you work, and you have kids, maybe not, maybe can be just like a tight
Hmm.
to do
Hmm.
everything.
Yeah.
So to rent here, and like Marcio said, an average senior developer to pay here, I would say from the net salary, probably the person would spend between 30 to 50% of the monthly paycheck on renting.
Okay.
So and then in this case, like also probably including the bills.
Hmm.
So like internet here is not expensive, like the cable, like a TV cable, and internet is not expensive. You can have a very good plan for 35 40 euros per month
Hmm.
with like a 500 megabytes of fiber on your house.
Nice.
So I think internet here is cheaper than you in UK.
It can be, yeah. Yeah, it depends on the provider as well, and what kind of what kind of package it is. So yeah.
So we can say probably that you can easily spend £1,000 per month if you have your own flat with the bills, right? With the normal service bills.
Easily, yeah. So I think one thing to take note here is all the numbers I said is for zone 1 to 3, and
Correct.
the majority of the people that work in London live in zones 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
Okay, so most people would typically live there, and you can expect 100 to 200 pounds cheaper in everything when you go out of zone 3, basically.
Of course. Of
Um,
course.
so it kind of just depends. It's just a compromise. It's just a balance between how much you want to travel against how much you want to, have the convenience of less travel and pay more, basically. So yeah.
And and in this case, let's say for example, we we work in IT, and someone working with Oracle Cloud, senior person, or maybe a Java senior person or a .NET senior person, uh, are their salaries going to be very similar? Like if you are a Java senior and a .NET senior and maybe an Oracle senior, are they having like the
Um,
same similar range, or do you see a lot of discrepancies in the market for them? As far as you know, of course.
I think I think senior wise, um, cloud will be slightly lower
Okay.
compared to Java or hardcore programming languages stuff,
Hmm.
but there's just going to be slightly less hardcore programming things available compared to cloud stuff, of course.
Hmm.
Um, I think cloud salaries start higher for juniors, and then they sort of plateau at about, senior. I would expect, between 70 to 90,000 per year. Um, for developers that can, start a bit lower as a junior, but then it'll go up much faster, and then you'd probably end up maybe, anywhere from 80 to 100,000, 120,000, depending on what language you're working on and who you're working for. So It's I think there's too much variability to generalize on
Yeah.
this.
Sure, sure,
Um,
sure, sure.
so yeah, I mean, I don't think because you'll find an example of absolutely every type of number. So
Hmm.
yeah, you can't really say anything in general.
And how many, when we say about like annual income,
Hmm.
do you have 12 salaries, or do you have like a holiday salaries and maybe a Christmas salaries? How how does the market prepare the salary package there?
Um, I've never heard of holiday salaries. So typically, you would get something like, you know, this is a job for IT, whatever, senior consultant, and the rate will be 65 to 75, for
Hmm.
example,
Hmm.
depending on experience. And so once you get the interview and get it, it'll be some number, let's say 70,000 per year, and you'll just get a direct calculated 70,000 per year split down with your national
12.
insurance and tax and all your deductions, pension, whatever it is, benefits, all of that taken out, and then you'll just get it monthly. And then it's up to the company to, if they put it on the contract, then it's obviously mandatory. Otherwise, it's up to your company to give you, bonuses for holidays, or bonuses for covering COVID situations and things like
Hmm.
that. So that happened to me, my friends as well, where they got bonuses which are not on the contract
Hmm.
because of COVID,
Hmm.
and
But that
in
was
some.
an extra in this case.
Exactly. And there's also been situations specifically because of COVID that, bonuses were canceled
Hmm.
because of COVID. And so, it can go either way. It can be on your contract and not get it because of a weird situation, which usually will never happen other than, COVID. So, and you can get extras. It just completely depends on the company, size of the company. If it's a startup, there's more variability on what can or can't happen. If it's an established big corporation, then it'll be a lot more predictable.
Hmm.
You know, it might not be in your contract, but you'll consistently maybe get, 700-800 pounds extra for Christmas, and whatever it is, bonuses and things like that. So it kind of depends on the size of your company, what kind of bonuses and benefits you look at. So yeah,
So pretty much everything that you have in the contract, that's the law, right? So
that's
uh,
guaranteed. Yeah, yeah,
that's guaranteed. And
yeah.
then let's say I have an offer for 50 grand, would be 50 grand split on 12 monthly payments, and we'll
Pretty
get
much.
them.
Yeah,
Probably,
pretty much.
right?
And then all the deductions based on tax and everything, and that's it. So yeah.
Okay, this is a little different from here, because
Okay.
here, in fact, uh, if you work for if you work as not as a contractor but as an employee,
Mhm.
by law you have 14 salaries and not 12.
Oh,
Because
okay.
you have the normal 12,
Okay.
January to December,
Yeah.
then you have a holidays salary, and also a Christmas salary. So
Right. Okay.
when the company offer to you, let's say, Pasha, I'm going to hire you, and my offer is for 50 grand. This 50 grand is not divided by 12, but divided by 14.
Okay.
So, in fact, for example, in June, probably you are receiving twice
Double. Yeah.
exactly, and then on December or
December.
November, December
Yeah.
or November,
November
depending.
probably. Yeah.
Probably,
Yeah.
probably November, because we'll be end of November. You will also
Yeah.
receive it too.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
Usually, the companies also they put in the contract the kind of a bonuses that you can have, but
What does that mean?
probably you can have like a different bonus, like for example
Oh,
during the
okay. Okay.
pandemic you also we also get some other incomes, and
Performance based.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, because
Okay.
that were not in the contract,
Mm.
but this is not normal to happen
Okay.
as there.
Hmm.
What you have in the contract probably will be the final one, like
Cool.
you will
Yeah.
never receive less than that, but
Hmm.
maybe you can
More.
receive
Yeah.
more than that,
Hmm.
so would
Okay.
be great to receive
Very
that.
interesting. I did not know that at all.
Yeah, exactly. And
So,
also here, what the companies they also do is they can split your part of your annual income in a food voucher.
oh,
So
okay.
you can only use that for food, like up to restaurants or even
So
to
food,
supermarket.
food or groceries? And so,
Grocery,
okay, okay,
food, restaurant, no matter. Like
okay,
you need to eat or drink.
okay. Okay.
But this is a way to reduce the taxes over your
I see.
salary.
Okay.
Because then here you have two main taxes that you pay. Like you pay the normal tax and
Hmm.
you pay the social security.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
uh, over the food allowance, you just pay the social security. you
Hmm.
you don't pay the,
The
or no, in
tax. Yeah.
fact, I think you don't pay anything on top of that. But then of course, like the income, you need to pay everything.
Yeah.
So
Of course.
that's a way to just to reduce
Hmm.
the taxes that you pay.
Nice. Yeah.
And it's good, that you
Yeah.
have.
That's really
So
nice. Yeah.
and then, depending on how much you do per year, you pay more taxes here, and you can pay probably between 15% and can go up to maybe 45%
Okay.
if you earn more than 10,000 euros per month, for example.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then also you pay 11% on social security here.
Okay.
So that's the case. So depending on how much you do, probably you can see easily 45 to 50% of your gross income, net income, just going to the government.
Mm.
How is this there? How much do you
Um.
pay, or maybe what are the kind of taxes that you guys pay there?
So taxes, I think for the year you can earn about 12,500 pounds, and it will be zero tax.
Okay,
And then if you earn more than 12,000 um, and less than 50,000 per year in pounds, then you pay 20% tax. And over 50,000 all the way to 150,000 pounds, you pay 40% tax.
forty
Um,
percent.
yeah, so I would say the typical senior kind of long-term working person is going to pay 40% tax basically for most of their career. And then if you go over 150,000, that's when you start paying 45% tax.
Okay,
And that's the maximum. So
but these including social security, or
no, this would just be the income tax.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
And then on the side, you would have the national insurance, which is
okay,
basically social security.
social security.
I don't know the percentage for national insurance because I think it changes based on your salary kind of
Hmm.
fluidly. That's my guess right now. I could be wrong. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the case, right, Pasha? Like you are very senior and like a high scale stuff. So like you really don't care about the numbers, right?
I
But,
just basically every time I see my pay slips in different companies in different months in the same company, the number is always different. So I don't know what's going
yeah,
on.
I know. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Here,
and
here,
they
the,
don't
here,
mention the percentage. They just mention how much they're taking out. So yeah.
here the social security here is 11% flat. So
Okay.
if you do 1,000 euros per month, we'll
Hmm.
pay 110 per month on social security.
Okay.
And that's the case. Like you've mentioned something interesting, because here also, if you do up to, I guess, is 10,000 euros per year, you also don't pay the the
Anything. Yeah.
no, like you pay the social security, but you don't pay
Right.
the taxes, the income taxes. So you
Okay.
also have that little step before starting to pay the taxes. But a senior person here probably uh, gross salary per year, they would start maybe like we were talking about a Java or .NET or
Hmm.
even cloud, probably about 35 and going up to 50, 60 thousand euros per year, you know.
Hmm.
I've seen already 70 grand. It's rare, can happen, you know. People say, oh no, maybe he's a god of that. uh, I would not say that it's that difficult. You just need to really have the skills, availability,
Yeah.
and like a past interviews. That's the case, right?
Yeah.
So but it's difficult. Probably most of the vacancies here would be between 35 to 50, and then like a going over 50, then we just start to see a decrease in the range of that. But it's something that you can really find, you know.
Hmm.
uh, Thiago, just to put a question here about remote work, how friendly the companies are in this moment, what kind of problems do you see in UK market with this approach? Maybe Thiago just started late here, but we spoke a bit about the like a working from home, but just going beyond on that, uh, do you see, Pasha, nowadays like companies in UK hiring people from outside UK as an employee or just like as a contractor, or this doesn't happen?
Um, I think due to tax reasons, that would basically be considered outsourcing. And
Hmm.
so if they stay in the other country, then they will probably be handled by their payroll will be handled by the daughter company in that country.
Okay.
So you're not really going to expect UK salaries.
Oh
So
yeah.
basically, it doesn't matter. Um, the only time other countries start getting UK salaries is if they sponsor your visa and get you to come to this country to live here.
Okay.
So that does happen, and it can't be a very generic field. It does need to be slightly specialized
Hmm.
for them to want you to leave your country and come here to work in it. It does happen. That's what happened with my latest colleague as well. So they traveled from their country to here with a visa sponsored by my company, and they plan to do it again for another employee to join our team. And so, in that case, of course, they will come here and they work remotely as well. But I don't
They are
think,
living in UK.
even in the UK, yes, living in the UK, and I don't think UK companies are going to just hire someone from a different country and let them work from there and pay them UK salaries. This is just not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not even
Does-
possible for me. It's just not a legal possibility. So, yeah.
I think doesn't make sense. You know, this is. I was having this conversation the other day with some colleagues, and I can see, for example, nowadays in the company that I work for,
Hmm.
we have two we have two different countries with the same roles. We have the same role in Portugal and in Berlin. So if and like the requirements, the main requirements that you need to live in the country that you are applying for. You
Hmm.
know, if you are applying for a different country, then you need to move, as in UK,
Correct. Yeah.
because would not make sense me in Portugal applying for a position in Germany expecting to do
Just
the
get the
salary
job.
in
Yeah. Yeah.
Germany there, living here when we have the office there,
Yeah.
so it's not happening.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
at least I think it's not happening most of the case.
Yeah.
Maybe you
There
can
are
probably have
loopholes.
exceptions.
There are loopholes as well. There are exceptions of the kind where, I work for a company in the UK and I can actually travel anywhere in the world and I can continue working from there for up to 3 months
Hmm.
before I
Correct.
have to come back. So there's a 90-day limit to how long you can work from a different country legally using your old country's tax code.
Hmm.
Um, So it kind of depends on your destination country as well. It depends on
Hmm.
a lot of factors, but I have done that for, a month, just over a month as well, but that was just part of my holiday basically.
Correct,
Um
correct. Was an
so
exception. Was really
yeah,
an exception.
and the thing is, my company is aware of it, and they're not worried that I'm trying to, avoid tax, or they're not worried that I'm trying to get a UK salary in a different country. So
Was not that the case. Well,
yeah,
you were outside the
yeah,
country because like a personal reasons,
yeah,
and they knew that you you were still receiving your salary in your UK account
correct,
and paying the taxes there. Like
correct, yeah,
so that's the case. It's similar here, you know.
yeah,
But in fact, some stuff that I've seen so far is the companies here, they are not allowing you to work abroad uh, because of the insurance policies. You know,
hmm,
like
understood, yeah,
you have like the normal labor insurance, and if something happens to you on commuting, for example, or during the normal daily period, like the company has the insurance policy, and
hmm,
if you are outside the country, then you
it
have
doesn't
issues
work,
with that.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so for example, my actual company doesn't allow you to work from abroad. You know,
okay,
the other company, they would allow as a kind of exceptional period, like okay, a week or two, maybe you
hmm,
went there in like for me example, if I was traveling to Brazil on vacations, taking 2 weeks on vacation, maybe staying there for 3 weeks, so I would be working there for a week.
hmm,
That could be an exception, and probably they would allow me, you know. The actual one, they would not,
yeah,
will not allow me, you know, because they
mm,
say no, like you cannot.
yeah,
If you want
yeah,
to go abroad, take your vacations, go. If you are going abroad on business purpose, then it's a different story. Like,
yeah.
but like for personal purposes, no, like
Yeah, and
you're
the
not
other
allowed.
thing is there's also a security aspect to certain sectors. So if I was just an IT person in the UK working for even Oracle, if I was dealing with, there were some projects where I was dealing with public sector
Hmm.
information. So my computers had access to public sector data,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
at that time I was specifically told that my computers cannot leave the country, no matter what. If you have to go to another country because of an extreme emergency, you can take a holiday, you can go
Exactly.
and live there. We don't care. Your laptop's not going with you,
Hmm.
basically. So there can be security aspects, but typically it's just, tax law and basically income loss. So yeah,
Yeah, no, that's so I think it's very similar, you know,
yeah,
and it's the format I've seen so far. You know,
yeah,
you can work depending on exception, like
yeah,
permanent, no.
yeah,
Uh, if it's permanent, maybe is in the same in the way that you've just mentioned. You have the offshore company that hired you, and then it's their responsibility for
correct.
the paycheck. Then all the access is done by VPNs or something like, but like
Yeah,
otherwise will not happen. You know?
yeah.
And this links to another question that Marcia just put here, like what English level do you think companies expect for a foreigner candidate? You know,
Mhm.
uh, IT wise, what would be the minimum English level to? Okay, maybe we can say no, like if you pass the interview, that it's fine. But what
I don't
would
think it is. I think the way it's described here in the UK,
Mhm.
like that eligibility is described, is you need an at least a C grade in GCSE maths and English, and it's not just English. There is mathematics as well. Um,
Mhm.
you need that basic level, and they are totally happy with an equivalency certificate, which
Mhm.
shows that you have an equivalent level of English and maths, from any other country as well. So if you studied English and mathematics in your own country, and if you talk to UK NARIC,
Mm-hmm.
who are, able to provide you a equivalency certificate, so you can just give them the certificates from your country for your English and maths, whatever qualifications you have, and they can convert it to what it would be equivalent to in the UK, and you can use that and put that in your CV as well. So it's usually a grade C or above for maths and English in GCSE, which is like when you're usually 15 years old, that's what you study in any country. So that's what you typically need.
But this you mean to apply for a visa
This, I
or?
mean, for pretty much it's an expected thing for, of course, you need to pass the interview, but at the same time, depending on the type of job, you might be needing this as well. So in many cases, it will be so for very junior level
Hmm.
jobs,
Hmm.
this will be very important because if
Yeah.
you become a senior, they stop caring about those things. If you're junior, if you're a starter, they are going to care about language and things like that. And if you're going to be a developer in IT or a consultant, and if you need to talk to customers or users,
Hmm.
then you're going to need a better level of English where you can understand what they need and sort of provide those things. If you're going to just work in a development environment with just other developers, then it'll be a slightly lesser requirement. So yeah.
Yeah. Here here in Portugal, at least in IT, you'll find a lot of companies that they require English,
Hmm.
English skills.
Hmm.
That's really because uh, here in Portugal you have a lot of nearshore companies,
Yeah.
nearshore projects, and a lot for UK, a lot for Ireland,
Mhm.
and other European countries. So we also we also don't only we don't only have these projects abroad, but also you have more and more immigrants coming to Portugal
Yeah.
from East Europe, from anywhere, from India, from Pakistan, for example,
Hmm.
and they don't speak Portuguese,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
So the main language, the main business language here in this case is English,
Guns
you know. So
English. Yeah.
so that's the case. So sometimes when we try to hire people from other countries that they don't speak English, they get angry because I speak Portuguese. I want to move to Portugal
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they also speak Portuguese, but I don't know English. Yeah, you don't know. And in IT here, you need to speak English, not
Okay.
because of only the project, but also because of your colleagues.
Yeah.
In my company is a very good example because I have colleagues in my project from Spain. Uh, most of the my colleagues they don't speak Spanish. My colleague doesn't speak Portuguese, so our main language is English. The,
Yeah.
the language in the company is English because we have Germans, we have Portuguese, and we have Indians. We have a lady that came from China. So anywhere, you know.
Yeah.
So
International common
English.
language. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's the case. It's like you need English to really work in IT. I
Yeah.
think like maybe if you are in China and you speak, of course, if you speak the Chinese, the Mandarin there, you might not need English. In Brazil, for example, if you work with IT in big companies there. Uh, you really don't need English too as well. Like you can have a completely nice and good career in IT without speaking a single yes during your like a whole life
Wow.
because the country is big,
Mm-hmm.
right? So and you really don't need contact with foreigners, but at least here in Europe what I've seen so far is like no matter where you will need to speak English like when we speak about like in IT, right?
Hmm.
So okay, like maybe this for UK it's like a is really mandatory, right? Because it's your
Yeah.
main
Pretty much.
language. But
Yeah.
but in fact, like with the other countries too, it's like different. So
Okay.
do. And that's something interesting. Like you said you are doing now a rollout for Italy and also have done rollouts for Spain and other countries for your company. Do you have contact with these people abroad there or no?
What
Like
people?
with your colleagues in Italy or in Spain when you are
Yeah, yeah,
rolling
yeah.
out your system, do they speak a good English? Do they have a good English quality or?
Um, so I, when I am building systems for other countries, I typically talk to the high level people from those countries.
Mhm,
And yes, of course, they have to speak in English with me. Um, so yeah, I mean, they need English to actually deal with us. They need English to get what they need from us. So there is no IT, there is no systems for selling being built by anybody other than us in the UK.
mhm.
So they can't have what they want if they can't ask us in English. So
Correct.
there are some people who use the translator and only use emails to, just translate stuff and ask us. There are cases where, we used to have an operations person who did the one job of translating other people's requirements into English for us because he knew both languages. And yeah, so without English, you can't really do anything um, in the UK for sure. And at the same time, in most other countries that we deal with, the really basic sales people can get away with being non-English,
Mhm.
but all managers, everybody above them, have to know English because they just cannot, continue working without it.
Yeah.
So
No, otherwise the project doesn't move forward.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. I had an experience working in Mexico a
Mhm.
long time ago, and that was the case. All people in the project, at least that I was involved, they just been spoke Spanish.
Mhm.
And my Spanish that time was crap. Right now is even worse, you know. But okay, we could kind of communicate, but then um, a manager and other few senior people they spoke English and we could communicate between us. So then the project really moved forward. Otherwise, was complicated.
Mhm.
Okay, you could see the people trying to communicate with you, but then when you really had like actions and acknowledges and those things, then you couldn't,
Yeah,
because they couldn't understand you. You couldn't understand them too. It's complicated, really. Like if you don't speak English in IT, it's just
yeah.
it's bad. Uh, moving up, moving away from the normal work. Talking about vacations,
Mhm.
how many paydays do you have on vacations there? On like, is there a minimum time,
I would
or
say
is
20.
by contract
Yeah.
20 business days?
So it does depend on your contract. So if you're a contractor,
Hmm.
maybe you will not get any, you know.
Correct. But
So
then you are responsible for taking
yeah,
your own
exactly.
vacations.
Yeah.
But as
So
an employee,
as an employee, the lowest I have ever seen is 20
hmm,
in multiple companies and from other friends, everything. I've never heard a number less than 20.
okay,
The highest number I've heard is 28.
okay,
And
fair.
that's, I think, is rare, but the typical range is 20 to 25. That's like the typical range. Um, Big companies can do 20, smaller companies sometimes do 25.
Hmm.
So there's a bit of a range, and quite a lot of companies allow you to buy more and things like that. Um,
Okay,
Most companies will allow you to also carry 5 to 10 holidays to your next
okay.
years.
Hmm.
Um, and every company in the country gets 8 bank holidays, sort of public holidays, which are never included in this 20 or 25 number.
Just
So
8.
yeah, only 8. Um, so there's specifically 8 public holidays every year, and plus that, you'll basically get 20 to 25 holidays. I've never seen less than 20. So yeah.
And your holidays in this case are always on Mondays, right? So they move to the
It kind of depends on the dates of some stuff.
hmm
There are some holidays, like for example, in May, you have
hmm
like the first working day of May and the last day of May. So in those situations, it's always like the first one is on Monday and the last one is on Friday, for example. But for example, Christmas, 25, 26 was a Saturday, Sunday this time, so we got Monday and Tuesday holidays.
Okay.
If it was like Friday, Saturday, then you would expect something like Thursday, Friday to be the
Okay.
holidays,
Okay. Okay.
or you can have Friday and Monday holidays. So it kind of just depends on the year and where the holidays fall. But you'll
Okay.
always get 8. So yeah,
So if the holiday if the public holiday goes on a weekend, then they can be on Friday
Friday or
or
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair.
So
Fair.
Easter, for example, is also 2 holidays. So
Okay.
there's a Good Friday and Easter Monday. So
hmm
that's always Friday and Monday. Um, so they just make the dates work basically. So,
Yeah, that's something interesting and different from here, because here, for example, we have, I would say maybe 12 public holidays, bank holidays, uh, but they are fixed. If
oh, okay.
they
So if they're on
fall
Saturday,
on a
Sunday, you don't get a
Saturday,
free one.
no, like now, for example, Christmas and New Year's on Saturdays, they continue to be on Saturday.
Okay.
Some companies they probably will offer as a day off on 24th and
Mm-hmm.
31st,
Mm-hmm.
but then is an extra.
Okay.
It's not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
By law here, for an employee, you need to have a minimum of a 22
Okay.
business days.
Mm-hmm.
And for those 22, you need to take 11 of them in a row. And then the other
Oh,
11, yeah, and then the other 11 you can just like split and use during the year. So
okay.
usually people what they do is during the summer vacations, like August, they take like a 2 weeks and or 3 weeks. So they do
Use
those
like 15.
11 days
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, 11 or maybe 15,
Yeah.
and then the rest do that.
Why
uh,
why do they ask for consecutive 11? That's a bit of a weird thing.
it's because of that kind of thing where the government they think that you need 2 weeks to really
Like a good
rest.
break kind of thing. Okay. Okay.
Exactly. And then you would use those other 11 days to combine maybe with the public holidays,
Hmm.
um, and do like a extended holidays, for example, or maybe use for your birthday or something like, you know. Other companies here, they probably they can offer more day offs. Uh, like my actual company, we have not only the 22, but we also have 3 extra day offs, 24th December, uh, 31st December,
Okay. Okay.
and the carnival, Tuesday carnival, like a February, March. They do these 3 days. And after an year, if you don't have an absence that has not um, was not justified. So if you had a flat year, you get 3 days more. So you can
Okay.
have up to 28 business days off
Okay.
here. Plus, if everything goes well, plus the 12 public holidays.
Okay.
So it's
Nice.
good. It's good.
Yeah.
And on your holidays, what do you usually do? Do you usually stay in UK or do you travel abroad? Or
There are some cases where we went to India.
Hmm.
In some cases, we, well, I traveled to maybe another country in Europe just for a few days or something because of an occasion, not to just go and be a vacation time. Um, but I think for me personally, um, there's a lot of places in the UK for me to see still. So yeah, that's an easy one to pick for me.
Hmm.
No visas or anything. So I just travel in the UK and check those places out. So yeah,
Yeah, you still own my to visit me here. You
yeah,
know that, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So my home is your home. So just come.
Thank
Like
you.
maybe for the next summertime, come. At least spend a weekend
Cool.
here. Probably you like it. Like not my house, but like the country as
Yeah.
itself. I know that you don't like uh, summer and sun and like these things, but come. I
Hmm.
will not tell you to come right now because it's raining for the last 2 weeks, I think.
Sounds like home, but yeah.
Exactly. Sounds really like your country most of the time.
I think with global warming, that's kind of changed. People are still saying that it's dark and wet all the time, but it hasn't been for a long time now. It's dark and wet in winter, which is expected, I think, but at the same time, in summer, it has been extremely hot for me um, for a long time, for the past couple of years. But yeah, it hasn't been like, the last time we had a good winter was 2010, and
Mhm.
that's it. So yeah.
What is being the temperature right now there? Is it cold
Right
or?
now, it's probably like, well, right now, because it's nighttime, it's probably around maybe 7, 8, something like that.
But
Um,
you don't have usually snow in your region by this time, or is it common now?
um, we used to have snow every year in December and January up to 2010. Then we had it in February in, I think, 2018 or something. And then we haven't had snow since then. So yeah.
Yeah, global warming.
Yep.
Here, in the other hand, like a Lisbon region, we don't have snow. Like if you want to see snow, you need to travel 300 kilometers north. Then
Hmm.
you go to the mountains there.
Hmm.
Then probably if you are lucky enough to go there in the weekend, probably in January, February, you can catch. December is more rare, but it's having some,
Okay.
so. But like if you go in February, probably it's better to catch that. Like
Okay.
if I had a colleague that he went on a winter holiday to ski, not here in Portugal, but in Spain,
Hmm.
and then was a kind of a 9 hours travel by car there, and then there they have snow resort, ski
Yeah. Yeah.
resorts, much better than here.
Hmm.
So here is more difficult. Like you can go there to maybe catch a cold or something, but like is no. I was never lucky enough to get really a real snow over the last 5 years here.
Okay.
So I got outside. When I've been there, like to the mountains here, I've seen the snow freeze there, but like I'm not really snowing.
Falling. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly falling there. So that was kind of a thing.
Okay.
And going out, like how we know that if you want to go crazy, you can spend maybe between £10 and £1,000 in a restaurant. Like
Yeah.
London is capable of that,
Of course.
and
Yeah.
but like normal wise,
Yeah.
if you want to go to have a decent dinner with your wife, for example,
Mm.
uh, how much do you need to take from the pocket to have that? Maybe, like a, let's say, Italian food, or like
Mhm.
even Indian, a very good Indian restaurant there, that I also like it, so
You remember the one in Cambridge, right?
yeah. Oh, that was that is something I miss.
um, yeah, so I'm not talking about that. That is, on a higher level, but I think a typical place, Italian or some, typical cuisine like that, I would expect about 15 to 20 pounds per person. With like a main course and a dessert,
Okay.
and a drink, things like that. Um, if you go to like a slightly fancy place, then it can go to about 30 to 40 pounds per person. And of
Okay.
course there's no upper limit, but that's what that's what I personally would consider um decent, and sort of, that's as high as I would go, maybe twice a month or something like that. But you know all the other times it'll probably be 15 or 20 pounds per person in a restaurant. So yeah,
So for 15 to 20 pounds, you can really say that it's reasonable to find a good food,
I would say so. Yeah. Yeah.
not a kebab or a
No. So
any.
again, I think location does matter. So
Yeah.
the same kind of food next to me here will be a bit more expensive because I am in a prime tourist location.
Yeah.
So I am paying tourist prices.
Correct.
You go to the right towards the Westfield shopping center, it's going to be those prices. If I go to the left towards where my parents live, it's the same area, but it's just going to be cheaper because it's not the tourist destination, basically. Um, so yeah, you can get decent meals from 15 per person to about 25 per person, and yeah, like in a nice sort of restaurant sitting and eating kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. That here, in fact, it's different from there. I remember having my like our colleagues coming here, or even like other colleagues coming from other countries to meet me here, like on business trips, or like just a normal trip.
Mm.
And in fact, in Lisbon, of course, you can spend
Any amount.
more
Yeah.
any amount, okay, but you can easily have a very decent meal between 20 to 25 euros.
Hmm.
Uh, 25 if you're having maybe a wine too as well, like a 20 maybe just like with some beers,
Yeah.
Um, these, of course, in a restaurant, having like maybe a starter and then your main dish,
Hmm.
probably with a dessert. So 25.
Oh,
If you plan like to go out with like a 25 per person, or 20 per person if you are a family, for example, for
yeah.
example here, if we are going out for a dinner, my family, maybe between 60 to 80 euros is enough to the four of us to
Okay.
eat
Nice.
nice and good.
Wow.
Like
Very nice. Yeah.
if you want to go on a budget, then okay, like a 10 to 15 is okay. Like no alcohol, for example, like
Hmm.
maybe just a beverage, or,
Yeah.
or water. But this at night, on lunchtime, a lot of restaurants here, they offer a kind of a lunch meal deal,
Hmm.
and then it's can be between 6 to 10 euros per person for a complete meal. That
Okay.
would include a starter as a soup, a main dish, uh, can include a dessert and a beverage too as well. So
Nice.
like exactly. So it's nice because you can have a very decent meal between like with €8 per person. But of course, that is the deal of the meal of the day.
Yeah.
So probably that restaurant they will offer 3 to 4 different dishes for that price.
Hmm.
If you want to go for a different one in the menu, then we'll just pay a
Full
different
price or
one.
something. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. But then at night, 20 euros per person is to have a very decent food. It's like a
Nice. Yeah.
so I thought like when you said 25 pounds, seriously, I thought would be more.
Okay. Yeah. So again, it's just gonna matter what kind of things you like to eat.
No, like a just like a let's say a normal pasta
Yeah.
dish
Yeah.
and maybe a pint, and just a starter, so
Yeah.
like
So they'll probably basically take you to about 20 in this kind of area. If you go to like the shopping centers, like a restaurant or restaurant with a nice name and setup and everything, then yeah, you'd look at about 25 to 30 over there. So my experiences have been from this kind of area, and also um, things on the left side, which is basically not tourist. So yeah, it's a bit of a range. So yeah.
and and remember when we were in Cambridge,
Yeah.
like the problem on Cambridge there was like everything was closing early
Pretty.
at night.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like if we usually we just stayed awake at the hotel because everything else was
Yeah.
closed, right? But so
Exactly.
in London, this doesn't happen, right? You maybe can find a food anytime.
Food. Okay. Food delivery, you will find anytime, also based on location. Like here in Stratford, I can get up to 50 or 60 choices in the middle of the night at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 2 a.m., whatever. Um,
That's amazing.
if I walk out of the flat at 2 a.m., I can maybe find two or three places which are still open and serving food. Shops wise, it's a different story. So shops,
Correct.
things, if you're not talking about food, um, any shops like like normal stores and groceries and stuff like that, those are rare that they are open after 12.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so for the nearby stores here, they are open till 10 typically
Hmm.
is like a typical time when they close. 12 is the number for the ones near me.
Hmm.
There's the nearest 24-hour store to me is about a 15 to 20-minute walk from here. Um, there are certain places in London where, if you're lucky enough to live near it, then you can get a 24-hour massive superstore, but those are spread out across London and they're not near residential areas because
Hmm.
they need a big space and everything.
Correct.
So yeah, like I'm not going to count those because to go there you either need a car or you need to get the 24-hour buses and things like that. So I've not been in a position to need those, but yeah, I mean shops typically would start closing at 5,
Hmm.
and then more and more essential things will stay open a bit later and later and later, and then eventually everything will pretty much be closed at 10. Specific places, because if they're tourist and things like that, then they might be open a bit longer, like 12. So yeah.
Like pharmacies, for example.
Yeah.
How until what time do you have a
So,
pharmacist open
so for
there?
example, there are pharmacies inside some superstores like Boots and Superdrug,
Hmm.
things like that. if the shop closes, the pharmacy obviously closes. So
Okay.
those
But
will close
outside.
at maybe 8. But then there's a dedicated pharmacy which closes at 7, which is near me. There are 24-hour pharmacies as well. The
Mhm.
nearest one is probably about 12 minutes walk away from me. Um, so yeah, I mean, pharmacies, it can be anything from 5 p.m. to about 7 p.m. closing if they're not 24 hours. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Here, like a normal shops, normal malls, for example, the big malls, they some goes up to 10, and then others can go up to midnight on the
Mhm,
weekends.
mhm.
They probably will have a different shift between
Okay.
weekend and
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
So especially also because some of them also have a movie theaters there, and then
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
but then if the movie finish at 2, for example, you can still leave
Of course.
the theater there, but then you need to just like the rest of the
Yeah.
mall will be closed.
Yeah.
Normal retail also probably you will have up to 8, 10
Mhm.
p.m. maximum,
Mhm.
outside. Uh, food, food in general, it's it's not even compared to there. Like you don't have that many options as you have there.
Mhm.
You probably will have some like a through Uber Eats and like through those apps.
Yeah. Yeah.
In Lisbon region, probably you can find more options. In the area I live right now, it's very very dead. So
Okay. Are
yeah,
you
like
talking
maybe.
about like outs in the nighttime? Is that what you're
Yeah,
talking
nighttime. Yeah,
about?
nighttime.
Okay. Okay.
Nighttime, nighttime. So, if you really want to go out to eat something, better to go before 10 p.m.
Okay.
Like if you're looking for a restaurant, if you
Better
want
to
to.
sort of reach before 10 p.m., I guess. Yeah.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
No, like if you try to arrive by a quarter to 10, for example, they probably will not
Will not
allow
let
you
you.
to.
Yeah.
No, 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 because they will say no, we don't have any more time, and
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
Uh, Takeaway and delivery, you can find like a 24 hours, but no, 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 no. 24 hours you don't find.
Hmm.
Maybe you find up to 2 in the morning. Well,
Yeah.
in fact, I never tried, like so I can't comment on that because I never needed to do that. I know that some McDonald's
Yeah.
they
Yeah. Of course.
stay open like
Yeah.
up to 3, but more in downtown than like they have more. They
Yeah.
are
That's
more
the
busy
24 hours.
areas, exactly, and then makes sense to have that. But then like the rest it's very difficult. In terms of the pharmacies, usually the pharmacies they stay open as there. Like if they are inside a mall, they
Mhm.
will close with the mall.
Yeah.
If they are dedicated ones at the street, they probably will go up to 8 or
Okay.
10.
Yeah.
No, 8 it's more normal. Then you have the 24 hours ones,
Yeah.
but then they have a kind of a rotation schedule. So you go to the pharmacy, for example, then probably they will have a letter in front of it with like a what is the pharmacy responsible to be 24 hours open at
Okay.
that week with the address and the telephone, for example. Then you can call them or maybe just like a go there.
Okay.
But so to find, let's say for example in my region here, if I need to find a 24 hours pharmacy, uh, I might need to travel to drive maybe up to 15-20 minutes from my house.
Okay.
So it's not walking distance to
Hmm.
find a 24 hours pharmacy here,
Hmm.
as well as uh, any hospital here. Like
Okay.
okay, like I don't live right now in Lisbon region, in Lisbon downtown. I live 30 kilometers from downtown.
Hmm.
But in my region here, if I need to go to the hospital mid of the night, probably I need to the closest hospital open 24 hours here will be kind of 20 kilometers ish. you know
I see.
so
Okay.
like it's not walking distance.
Mm.
You might need to take a Uber or a cab or drive there. So
Okay.
uh, it's not that easy in this case, because like the normal public uh, clinics here, they go open maybe until up to 6 7 p.m. and then they
Yeah,
close.
6 here as well. So yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think nearest hospital is probably about 4 or 5 miles away here, and
Okay.
um, of course you can just get an ambulance and go anywhere.
Yeah,
And
so if you
yeah,
can't get like the cab,
taxi
you
or
can
something.
call 112 and request an ambulance, and then they will
Okay.
catch you here, you
Yeah,
know. And then you have the urgency and non-urgency
of
ambulances,
course. Yeah, yeah.
so
Cool. Um, in terms of the timing for the days here as well, I think Monday to Saturday is usually the same timings, and then Sunday, pretty much everything will close a bit earlier. Everything will close at 5 or something like that. Even the stores which stay open till 12 will close at
Mhm,
5 on Sundays here. Banks will close, like, probably not even open on
mhm.
Sundays. Um, so yeah, it's only the food dedicated things which are open all the time. So yeah, and that's again because of where I live. There are places in London
Sure.
where you can, find basically nothing in the night. So yeah,
And like you don't have a car there,
no.
and do you have plans to maybe have a car, or have you never considered to have one? Or at least
um,
do you know how to drive, Pasha?
I know how to drive. Um, I also did like practice lessons and stuff in India the other time, and I've done lessons here as well. And I haven't picked up my full license yet, so I can't legally drive alone. I need
Okay.
to have like a person in the passenger seat who's driven for like over 3 years. Besides that, in terms of consideration, the only reason I considered a car in London is to go outside London.
Hmm. Hmm.
I have zero, absolutely zero requirement to get a car to go anywhere inside London, basically. So if I get a car, it'll simply be to just leave London and go somewhere in the UK or Europe or wherever it is. Um, inside London, I have, yeah, absolutely zero need. I don't think I will ever need it. I don't think anybody ever needs a car. It just makes your life more difficult and more expensive. So yeah.
If Yeah, but then of course we are talking about London zones one, two, three, maybe up to five yet, or even
Oh, there's a lot. There's, I think, up to 8, and then there's H and a few letters as well. So yeah, there's a lot of those. Yeah.
so if you live up to zone 8, you would not need a car to commute inside London. For normal, for regular,
If,
like
I think it depends where you're commuting. If you're commuting outside London, then yeah, you need a car, even if you live in zone one. But
sure.
if you want to go inside into London to work, it's better if you just use public transport, because it's not about there's multiple ways why it's better to use public transport. One is public transport is going to be a lot faster than your car, um, and a lot more consistent.
Hmm.
It's not going to depend on weather and stuff like that as much.
Hmm.
Um, And on the roads, the moment something happens to the weather, as you talked about it, it can get wet quite often. And so the moment it starts to rain, everyone's going to start using cars, everyone's going to start using cabs for everything. And it just becomes impossible to go to your destination, basically. Um, I am obviously not a driver, so my experience with cars is very superficial and
Mhm.
sort of lots of assumptions there. So I could be wrong in that, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty expensive idea in terms of time and money to get a car to go inside London to work. If you're going out, then it's absolutely necessary.
So
Yeah.
you really never miss to have a car in or consider to have one.
Never needed it, never felt like it would have been nice. The only time I can think of when I felt like, oh, it'd be nice to have a car is when we are moving. And
Hmm.
that happens, very rarely. So, yeah.
Yeah, here, if you live in Lisbon region, or maybe like as I said at Porto region, you also might not need a car like for normal daily basis. Like as you said, we just need a car to go away, maybe on the
Yeah.
vacations or something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would not need. Here where I live specifically, uh, it would be difficult to live here if I didn't have a car,
Hmm.
because the nearest train station is 5 kilometers far from here.
Mm.
Uh, if I want to go to the train station by bus, the bus stop is at 15 minutes walking distance from here, you know,
Hmm.
and then and then to commute is 30 minutes by bus to the train station, and
Okay.
then from the train station to Lisbon, like maybe, and then it's fast.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can reach Lisbon by train on 15 minutes
Okay.
ish. Like from where I live, it's like a maximum 20 minutes.
Hmm.
So, but then you still need to add these 30 minutes extra on the bus to
Yeah.
to reach the train station.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. It's really difficult just to rely into the public transport where I live.
Yeah.
So would be hard to not have a car here where I live. Uh, but when I was living in Lisbon, I spent almost 2 years without having a car because, as you said, like I didn't need. That's the
Yeah.
case. Like
Yeah.
I was living closer to bus stops with maybe like 4 different lines stopping
Hmm.
there, so I could go anywhere. I
Yeah.
also had the tram, and I didn't have a tube closer there, but I could easily reach the tube with the bus and
Buses.
like
Yeah.
do everything. So the only
Okay.
reason really to use the car would be just to going out on vacation
Traveling.
or something.
Yeah.
Exactly. Otherwise, you don't need. But then, of course, that's the case. Uh, as close as you live in Lisbon, the
More
renting
expensive
just
it'll be. Yeah.
exactly, and then you just need to consider maybe you need a car here,
Yeah.
and then your renting would just go down and that. So, but then you need to evaluate.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think you know what? Like I think I would consider, if I was younger, I would consider to move to UK.
And one more thing, I mean, UK is not just London, of course.
Of course.
You know, outside London, I've been to many places outside London, and it is impossible to survive without a car.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
like it's not even a question of maybe I can make it happen. No, you can't. It's not
No,
possible.
even in Cambridge
So
where we were,
exactly.
we
It's
couldn't.
it's not possible, yeah. And like Cambridge is such a small city compared to
Mhm.
London. You
Of
can
course.
just walk across one side to the other side of Cambridge and it's not a big deal. But I've been to many other smaller villages and it's still impossible to, maybe you can walk to work, but to live you're going to need to get to a shop, and there's going to be one shop somewhere in the village, and it's just not feasible to be without a car. It's a necessity outside London, but inside London it's counterproductive to get a car
Mhm.
inside London.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, in this case, Lisbon is really the same. Of course, the size is totally different. Like we
Yeah.
are talking about how many people right now in London are
13,
living there?
something like that.
13.
13.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
here in Lisbon, uh, maybe a million.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
3 millions if we think in the wider Lisbon, but then you start to need a car, but people that would not need a car, maybe a million people, so and that the village where I live, if you need to go to the supermarket, you really need a car. Right now I have three supermarkets, just like a 5 minutes 10 minutes walking distance here, but when I moved here 2 years ago, I didn't have any. I need to drive. Definitely, I would need to drive to go to the supermarket.
Yeah.
So you it was not even an option to not have one. And yeah, in Cambridge, for example, there even being a small town, but for example, to move from the hotel where we were to downtown, you
Yeah.
couldn't by bus. Was impossible. I've been to Portsmouth too as well, and Portsmouth was also a crazy if you were dependent on buses only.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, okay, we know that London is could be just a single country. but
And correction on the population, it's about just under 9 million, actually. So, yeah, population of London.
yeah, but then if we pick up the Greater London, then it's more than nine, right?
Oh,
Or
okay. I'm not
or
sure if it's showing me Greater London or what. Hmm.
9 million. I thought was more. You know,
Yeah,
because for example, São
it's about
Paulo.
9.5. I'm not sure which
That's
map
good.
it's covering, but yeah.
No, anyway, yeah, it's a bunch of people. It's almost the size of Portugal at all. Portugal at all has kind of a 10 million
Hmm.
total.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it, buddy. That's it.
Mm.
Okay, you know what, Pasha? Do you have any questions to me? I think I'm done with anything I would like to know about UK and working with IT there. We spoke about kind of a salaries. We spoke about living and what I would need to live there. Anything you want to know from here that might we not discussed yet? Or?
I think one of the few things I will edit from my side is I think national insurance, which I found out is 2% from the employee side,
Hmm.
and the employer pays about 13% typically to make it a total of 15%. So we shouldn't look at it as 15% because you will never pay that. You will only pay 2% from your income. And that's a flat maximum of 2%. Sometimes it's nothing.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, and in terms of, I think, living costs, of course, your salary might be higher in London, but of course, you'll also pay a bit more for things, for your daily life. Your meal deals, like you talked about, you'll get that here as well for lunchtime. And it doesn't actually have a time. You can get it at any time, basically, just that combination of food.
Hmm.
Um, if you get it over here, you'll get it in, £3, which will be like a sandwich and a drink and a snack kind of thing.
At
Um,
Tesco, right?
yeah, exactly. So I'm not talking about restaurants and things like that. Um, so like that's what most people would end up doing. Um, but if you're talking about restaurants, lunches, then of course it's going to be much higher. So yeah. And how is like the labor cost in Portugal? Is it comparable to the UK? Like the time, the cost of time of people. So yeah, how does that
Yeah, it's much more cheap, you know, much.
compare?
Like the minimum salary here, of course, and then not talking about IT salaries,
Yeah,
but like the minimum wage would be, I think now for 2022 is 705 euros, you know,
per
705
what?
per month, per
Per
month.
month. Okay. Okay.
Then, like talking about like the social security, the employee they pay 11% flat, and the employer, the company, they pay 13% more. You know, so in total is 24%. So
Okay.
11 from the employee
Employee.
and 13 from the company. You know, so
Yeah.
it's a bit. Then uh, a junior person working with IT here would do about maybe 1100, 1200 euros per month,
Hmm.
you know. Uh, then like a senior roles, like a let's say mid senior, maybe 3 to 5 years, maybe 7 years, uh,
Experience.
20, yeah, 2500 euros per month, 300, 3000 euros per month,
Mm-hmm.
and like a with like a 5 to 10 plus, then this gross, right? This gross, like 4 5 thousand, over 5,000 starts to be harder to find. You
Yeah.
know, you can
Okay.
you can get, but as I said, that's the case. You don't have 12 payments. You have 14. You
Yeah.
know, so would be uh, 5,000 times 14, right? So
Oh, right. Okay. So you're not talking yearly salaries. Yeah, correct. Correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
correct. So if then, of course, if we were talking about like the year income, so 5,000 times 14, 70,000 euros, which is
Hmm.
a very huge salary for not only for Portugal but also for the IT
Hmm.
here. You
Hmm.
know, so you might get these as a contractor. Like a
Hmm.
contractor
Yeah.
would be
Yeah.
much easier to get that, but then
Of
it's
course. Yeah.
on your own, of course.
Yeah.
As there, like I
Yeah.
know, I remember those guys that were working with us.
Yeah.
Some of them were doing like a thousand, 1,200 pounds per
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
which is insane. But happens,
Yes.
right?
Of course. Yeah.
You
It's
just
on
need
the
the
high
skill.
end. You just need that people management, under you, and yeah.
Yeah, you just need the skill. That's the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, Pasha. I tell you that was a really pleasure to talk to you again.
Thank you very much, and
I think we don't need to wait maybe 2 3 years more to talk again or to see each other
definitely
again.
not. Yeah.
You know. And I just want to wish you a very good 2022 to you and your family coming.
Thank
Also, you know
you as well.
that you guys get a very happy life in your when moving to the new house, getting a bigger space, maybe having kids later, so, and I really wish to visit you in the near future. Let's see
Sure.
how all these crazy times they go. That you don't feel anymore to sit in a plane and go somewhere. And
Yeah,
maybe we can just have another drink together as we've done before.
absolutely.
Yeah. And remember, my house is open for you anytime you want to come to Portugal and visit me, because like uh, I think closer to here we have a very nice landscape that we can just drive there, and would be more than happy to let you go there and maybe convince you to move to Portugal. Maybe when you retire. Okay, buddy.
All right.
Good
Thank
to
you.
talk to you.
Take care.
Anything else, or that's it?
I think that's all. Yeah.
Yeah, Pasha, really, really pleasure to talk to you again.
Same
See
here.
you
Thank you.
soon, and thanks a lot, buddy.
Take
Okay,
care. Bye.
and for all of those that were watching with us so far, nice. If you want to know more about anything related to UK, you can just leave your comment here. If I can't reply, I can just contact Pasha and see if we can help you guys. Okay, Pasha,
Absolutely.
thanks a lot, buddy. Okay,
Thank you. Bye.
cheers. Bye bye. See you.